Welcome to a new series from ProLongevity. My name's John Allard and I have been involved in wellness over the years. I spent 4 years bringing a new wellness solution to the UK in the 90s, and I thought I knew everything until I met Graham Phillips. Now, not only did he enlighten me, he also helped rectify a lot of serious issues, including hypertension and obesity. And that's the subject of our discussion with Graham. We've decided that we're going to do some on-topic interviews with him. And the on-topic interview of the day is obesity, because Boris Johnson has announced a war on obesity. He wants to tackle it, having not really been as proactive as he could have been in the past. So I'm going to get Graham Phillips to tell us his views on whether or not the government is going to take the right tack and what he really thinks will make a difference to tackling this other epidemic. So Graham, welcome to this first session. I know you've done lots of videos, including some with me in the past, but we really want to examine the news of the day. Firstly, how are you doing down at the pharmacy?
It's pretty tough, John. It's not quite as insane as it was, or maybe we've just got to get more used to the insanity. But it still is. I've never known anything like it, and I don't think it's going to change significantly anytime soon.
Okay, so you must obviously still have a few moments when you can actually look at the news headlines. Was the announcement by Boris good news?
I think it was overall, because Boris is by nature a libertarian. That's why he was very reluctant to do the shutdown to protect the NHS and save lives, as he put it. And he's always been anti, the nanny state, maybe because of the life he leads himself. He's been very anti, wagging the finger and telling people what to do. To that extent, I agree with him, but for me, it's about educating people and allowing people to make informed choices, and that's what I think is missing.
Well, that's certainly, when I went on ProLongevity myself, I had an awful lot of education. For those that are still complacent about the link between obesity and things like more susceptibility to COVID-19, what are your thoughts in terms of the way the science is emerging and that linkage?
There's all these myths that we've all been taught for years, and we've been taught these myths because it suits the food industry. And if you're a real cynic, you'd say that the food industry makes you ill and the drugs industry keeps you alive, and there's a kind of an unholy, unspoken alliance. And actually, it's about lifestyle. So it's very easy to start talking about sugar because that's a simple thing to identify, except it's not, because it's not simply about sugar, it's about carbs. But even that's only part of the picture. Sugar, carbs, and processed foods are really the culprits. So there's a risk here that Boris will focus on the proximate cause, the immediate cause in front of him, the obesity, and ignore the true cause, which is this kind of background that we've got in this country and in the States of a diet and a life full of sugar, carbs, processed foods, lack of exercise, and poor sleep. And unless you tackle the root causes, you'll never really deal with the problem. So he's kind of heading in the right direction, but just focusing on obesity kind of misses the point.
Do you think he'll come under pressure from lobbyists from the food industry because there are billions at stake?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just look at the sponsorship of the last Olympics by McDonald's, or look at any local hospital, all seen as branded opportunities for processed food. And one of my colleagues, Asim Malhotra, who's a doctor that I follow closely, and we're in very close agreement, he and I got very upset when Krispy Kreme donuts donated 2,000 donuts to an NHS trust for the staff as they came off shift. And the way I would portray it is this: after they came off shift, if Marlboro cigarettes had donated 2,000 fags to the doctors as they come off the wards to deal with their stress, there'd have been a complete outcry. Well, this action by Krispy Kreme donuts is exactly the same, except you substituted tobacco for sugar, and it's just as lethal in many ways.
Right. So finally, you're a pharmacist by trade, and you have an opportunity now. You're advising Boris Johnson. You're in his inner circle. What's the proper prescription for UK PLC to get them off obesity?
First of all, avoid the temptation to oversimplify it, because these things are complicated. And politicians always try and look at simple solutions for complex problems. And I think we have to be honest with people. There aren't simple, straightforward solutions, but there are some really simple, fundamental suggestions. The first one is eat real food. Don't eat this kind of processed crap that we all eat. Just think about the hunter-gatherer forebears that we're genetically related to. The likelihood of them eating McDonald's and Pizza Hut and Doritos, etc. So eat real food. Avoid the obvious added sugars. Be cautious about highly processed carby foods, and avoid processed foods.
Graham, I think that's a prescription that certainly worked for me. And to those watching, if you're interested to find out more about ProLongevity, an evidence-based program which will alter your lifestyle for good, and it will address not just obesity but a whole collection of illnesses that you may encounter in later life, then simply join the group that you're watching, either the LinkedIn or Facebook group, and you can also book a one-to-one with Graham in the future. So from myself and Graham, bye for now.
Bye now.